Oh, right there. There's a remote.
It's coming from
It
that.
came from the remote?
Yeah.
That's all the way out there. Unless it's this.
Oh, it might be the TV too.
Say something again?
Here's the TV remote.
Hello?
Can you hear us?
Yes,
Barely.
Barely.
Coming from up here.
I can hear you fine.
I have a bunch of speakers up here, so I bet that's it.
One more time, we'll be quiet.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, great. Hey, could I get everybody in the room? You're a little pixely and I'm not super great with this anyway, so can I get everybody in the room just to identify themselves?
Yeah, AJ's here. We got Jeremy Chrysler and the other Jeremy Waits.
Waits, yeah.
Nice to meet you in person, by the way.
This way.
We got John Ross. And guest, we've got BJ Arnold.
Did you say BJ?
BJ Arnold, yes. Come over here so we can see them.
Hi there. Oh, my camera's not on. You can't see me waving.
I feel like I don't know which way to look.
I was looking up there.
Yeah.
Talking to.
It shouldn't be that confusing. Looking at people here, but.
Can you adjust, just a tiny bit? Is this control?
The volume.
Oh, I was gonna just adjust the angle up. Feels like it's pointing down. I probably shouldn't.
Oh, yeah.
I want at work will like chase you around, you know, and it's a little creepy.
Oh, there we go.
There you go, okay. Or better.
We got somebody behind the scenes that's helping us out here. All right. Can you guys hear me over here? I'm assuming you can. Awesome. Let's go ahead and get started. I think we got our roll call taken care of there. And I think we're technically supposed to have a quorum for this to be an official meeting that's here. So I don't know if we're meeting the criteria for that or not.
According to the chat box here, we are not allowed to vote, which I believe means that technically we can't have enough votes for a quorum.
Yeah.
So this will be an unofficial meeting.
Yeah, okay, that's kind of what I was thinking. So I don't think that changes a whole
Why
lot.
is that, David? Why are we don't have enough people here?
Well, I mean, according to the chat box from City Hall, whoever the mysterious City Hall chat person is, we aren't allowed to vote if we're remote, and so if there aren't enough people to vote, I assume that means we don't have a quorum.
Yeah, that's what I heard as well.
I'm sorry, I didn't know that. Or I could have come in.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
That's okay, the only,
Doesn't apply.
I just was told that is correct.
I don't believe we really have anything to vote on anyway. I think the one item that we possibly could have voted on required, it's the same issue as we had last time, so I don't think that's a big deal, so. And I think this may be pretty quick here. So let's approve previous minutes. So were there any?
Can we vote to approve previous minutes?
We cannot.
I can vote.
In that case, I just approve. I don't know those things at all.
If I can weigh in on the minutes here, there were a few minor corrections. Peter and Mariah both sent me small changes, so I'll be sending out a revised copy of those with the minutes from this evening.
Okay, sounds great. So we'll move on to old business here. So for A, I don't have any updates, and Terry's not here for any updates. So we move on
It's
to
on the Adamsbrook Trail.
yeah. So looking at B, also still waiting for a meeting on that. So we're gonna move past that. And Terry was gonna give us an update on our sidewalk parking that we discussed last meeting, so nothing there. So yeah, let's move on to new business here. Can't vote on A.
Officer Kerr, he's been keeping an eye on that spot on Prince and whatever it is, Clifton.
Yes, I don't recall the cross street, but yeah. Is he?
Yeah, I've looked at it each time I've gone into shift. I haven't seen that issue be prevalent every day. Every once in a while, I can see a car there. I haven't been able to make contact with the house.
Got it.
So it's still happening.
I have seen it happen at least twice.
Interesting. I will send Terry an email and see if he has any updates. And if I hear back from him, I will share that. All right. So looking at new business, item B there. So this is something that that I have seen or I've noticed on our, if anybody has the agenda and attachments there, I believe it was attachment 3 was our last report card that we received from the Bike League of American Bicyclists. One of the criteria that's measured on that report card is the number of bike-friendly businesses in the city. I'm not sure if it's actually a criteria that affects your score, and maybe Peter, you have some information on this, but it is a metric that they have on there. Do you know if that contributes to the score at all, Peter?
Oh, excuse me, I was just texting with Terry Coddington. He's gonna try to get on. He's traveling back from a meeting.
Okay.
Wanted to know if we were on Zoom or not. I'm sorry, so the question about the scorecard was what?
Yeah, the question was, so they have a metric on there, they're listing the number of bike-friendly businesses. I believe it was on the top right. And I'm wondering if that factors into the score, or what they use to determine the level of bike friendliness, I guess.
Yes, I would think that both of those do, the bike-friendly universities and the bike-friendly businesses. And it would be a great push if we could get a few more businesses on there.
Yes.
I think we did have 2. We've actually gone backwards. I think Kimberly Clark was on there. So probably the only one that's listed is The Ride, which is pretty much a no-brainer.
So,
Remind me what the criteria is for that?
Well,
To be-
I don't have it on the top of my head.
to
For
be
a
a
bike-friendly
bike-friendly business,
Yes.
yeah, that's actually something you have to apply for through the league, and they
But I can
will,
send you.
they will
There's plenty of
review.
documents on their website.
Yes, yeah, so they'll review your application. I think there's even different levels for the business that I think you apply, and then they will assign you a level based on things that you provide and that type of thing, so.
It's the kind of stuff that you expect, right? So what kind of facilities do you provide for bicyclists in your business? Do you have bike racks and offer any showers? And then do you have any business organized rides for your employees. Think of all the E's and the ways business could participate in those different E's that make up a bike-friendly community. I could send you a document that lists the kind of stuff they're looking for, if anybody wants one.
That could be a easy, I would think, somewhat easy. I mean, there's probably a lot of businesses out there that qualify, but that don't even know that this exists to apply for.
Right, exactly.
That was
I mean,
that was exactly
hospital.
yes, that was exactly my thinking when I was creating this. So yeah, so I'm looking at, first of all, I want to look at existing businesses and just like you said, Lori, I think there are a lot of businesses who probably already meet the criteria that we could reach out to and maybe see if that's something they'd be interested in doing. So my first thought was Conway Regional because they've been doing Biketoberfest for the last, I believe it was 2 years now. I know
It's just been 1 year, I think.
it's just been 1 year.
Yeah, they're already planning for this year. Yeah.
Gotcha. So, yeah, I think, and there's a lot of businesses along the trail I know that I think would benefit from that. And something, I think it goes both ways. I think the city benefits from that by having additional things along the trail that improve the trail. And then it's also going to bring some additional business to those businesses. So I'm not sure I've got I guess I just kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit tonight and try to maybe get some ideas on how we might go about improving that number. Because I do think the more that we can do to increase the number of businesses, I mean, that's a really easy thing to do that would improve people's experience on the trail. So it becomes just it goes from just a recreational activity to providing, things that you can do along the trail. So maybe, I guess I was kind of thinking. Yeah, go ahead.
Mariah's got her hand up and I got a question.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Mariah.
My suggestion would be to try to get all the key stakeholders in a room together to start that conversation. So BPAB, Terry Coddington, the chamber, and then probably somebody from planning from the city as well. Because I feel like we can't do this piecemeal. We've all got to be working on this together. We've all got to be on the same page to establish these benchmarks and then work towards them. So I think it's a great idea. I think we just need to make sure we're collaborating on this.
Good point. AJ, I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm trying to figure out what's the connection you're making between bike-friendly businesses and specifically the trail.
So I think there's a couple of things. So existing businesses, I guess it may not be a direct connection. So one thing, the direct connection, I guess, could be the number of bike-friendly businesses that we have in the city, which would then go on our next report card.
Right.
And I think we kind of determined that increasing that number would improve our standings on at least that metric, and however that factors into our score. So that's one way, and then I think there's a lot of indirect ways that having more bike-friendly businesses would increase the overall bike friendliness of the city. I guess the most obvious would be the more people you have, the more bike-friendly businesses you have that are specific to catering towards cyclists, you're going to have more people out riding, which kind of provides an overall push to improve bike facilities everywhere else and in infrastructure as well.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah.
I agree.
So I guess with that, moving on to looking at new businesses. So this is something that BJ was talking to me about. And that's why I invited him here this evening. So again, I think there's a good, I guess, opportunity to improve what's available along the trail. So going from just a trail and something that's recreational to actually having like destinations along the trail. And I don't know if anybody's been to Northwest Arkansas or other trails. I think that's something that really sets some trails apart, is actually having, you know, restaurants or features, I guess, along the trail. So I invited him here this evening. He is interested in starting something along the trail, and I kind of wanted to just have him give us an overview of that and kind of gauge people's feedback and see. I know that sometimes the city can provide incentives for businesses to address specific needs or certain categories. So just start a discussion around that, I guess. So BJ, if you don't mind telling us a little bit about what you had in mind there.
So, like AJ said, my name is BJ Arnold. I am not a businessman by any means. I am a speech therapist here in town. I work at Pediatrics Plus. But I have been, for the last 3-4 years, become very active with Conway Bearcats. My son rides on the mountain bike team. I coach with them. And there's the man right there himself. So I've gotten into that community quite a bit. AJ mentioned Northwest Arkansas. I spend a lot of time up there and do a lot of riding up there. And such a big draw up there is that you can get on your bike and ride all day and stop off and get a drink or stop off and eat, and just the way that just builds so much community. So I want to read y'all something first. It's going to sound like I'm pitching you something, which I kind of am, but I want you to just think about this. What if here in Conway there was a place that existed to be a gathering place where community leads to relationships, and relationships inspire adventure. And this place succeeded in that by creating a welcoming environment just off of local trails with great food, drinks, and live music. If I pitched you that place, you want to come hang out? And I think here in Conway, and I would safe to say that I know here in Conway, a lot of people would say, yeah, absolutely. And so I've been working with some acquaintances and some business people. Like I said, I'm not a business person, but I've been working with some people that are business people. And we do have a patch of land that is owned by one of these guys who's very interested in starting a place like this. It is literally right off the trail. It's on the opposite side. It's across the creek, so there would have to be a bridge that we got built. But a place that's an extension of the trail, not just necessarily building a place that, you can stop off, but literally someone passing by would look across the trail and go, oh, wow, that's like a nice park. There's a lot of seating out there. And that leads up to some building. And that building provides, all of that. And I am passionate about community. I am passionate about creating spaces, creating just anything that brings people together. Before I've been a speech therapist for about 10 years. Before that, I was a youth pastor for 10 years. And, I'm all about connecting and inspiring people. And so, our goal with this, and one of the other gentlemen I'm working with, he is already kind of in the food service business. He is in the food service business in Little Rock, and they're developing something there. But we know we don't want to be another coffee shop, because in my opinion, Conway doesn't need another coffee shop. We got plenty of those. Would we serve coffee? Yes. But and I know Terry's familiar, places like the Meteor up in Bentonville area, and it's out of Austin as well, but a place that's like, again, right off the trail, that you can get a light snack, you can have a drink, a late night place where, a lot of stuff closes down here and there's not a 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock after you go have your big meal or you go have your date, hey, stop by here just to hang out and have a drink or have whatever. But for this purpose of why I'm here and what AJ and I talked about is, you know, I, through being a part of the Bearcats over the last couple of years and the amount of time we spend on the trail there, it's gotten me back in shape. It's got my son excited about something. And I want to pour back into that. You know, AJ and I talked a lot about the bike-friendly businesses, and I would love to champion that or just get on with other people to encourage businesses in Conway to be whatever bike-friendly means. You know, Pediatrics Plus, we have 160 employees with teachers and therapists there, and we're right on the trail, and a number of them own bikes or live close to the trail. And so if they knew that, hey, you know what, if I talk to our owners and we put in some bike racks, just simply that, and then encouraged our employees, hey, weather's great, you know, jump on the trail and ride to work, and then promote that more. And I think what AJ was saying earlier is, yeah, that's gonna, with more people on the trail and more people out and about, they're gonna advocate more for bike safety. They're gonna advocate more for, you know, getting around the town on your bike. And so, anyway, that is, I don't have some big thing, but I just wanted to share that passion. I shared it with AJ, and we're pretty positive this is gonna happen. And we just want to get behind it with the city. I mean, one of my goals with it is to be a place that also will raise money for bike advocacy, especially with our Bearcats and our kids. And I've, you know, seen what that does for kids and that morale and how it can benefit far more than just being on a bike. And so I would love to give back to, you know, programs like that here in town, and also working with other local businesses, other local farms and breweries, and, you know, very much Arkansas based. How can we support each other in this endeavor? So I don't know, that's just kind of this passion I've got right now. I'm not rich by any means, and I'm not a businessman, but I'm hooking up with people that are, that want to get behind this. And so our goal with it is to make a place that is connected with our trails, that is going to promote people to get out on the trail and be a destination, you know, hey, let's go for a walk, and, you know, we'll stop off for a drink at fill in the blank. Don't really have a name necessarily right now. And so, yeah,
Yeah, I appreciate that, BJ, and thanks for sharing some information about that. Does anybody have any input, I guess? I like Mariah, so I don't know if everybody kind of sees the benefit of improving or increasing the number of bike-friendly businesses in the city. It seemed pretty obvious to me. I think that's just another way that we can increase the number of people riding, just I guess at the heart of it. So does anybody have any additional ideas, I guess, or input kind of around this? Something we haven't touched on yet, or any suggestions, I guess?
If we get the chamber to send out an email to all their membership with the application attached.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, Lori. I think we need to figure out exactly what it is and basically take all of the work out of applying for this to say, hey, make it super easy. Like, here's the steps that you need to do to become a bike-friendly business, and then go out and recruit. I think the chamber would be happy to do this. I can't imagine that they wouldn't, right?
I think they'd be on board, and I think it would fit real well with the stuff they do in the fall, when they have their Biketober event anyway in the fall. I would think there are a lot of businesses that sponsor days of that, sponsor rides associated with that. That, to me, that would be a good avenue to get that out there, as they're asking Baptists to sponsor a ride on a Tuesday. Especially if we've got the process set out for them, like Jeremy just said, that has to help. That, hey, you probably qualify for this already. Can we just fill this paperwork out?
Is there somebody
It
who
wouldn't take too much if we've got the racks or whatever else to kind of make it, make it easier for people to, for a couple $100, get a part of it and, do something like that. One other thing that stood out to me on our scorecard there there were a couple things. So, and Terry, maybe you know this, total bicycle network mileage to total road network mileage. So that's really just what counts as bicycle network mileage? Do we know what that is?
Bike lanes, bike specific lanes, and I don't know. That doesn't include sharrows.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that I think you and I have talked about it for a long time. I've talked to AJ about it a long time. As it relates to these businesses, what might be interesting is I'm kind of convinced that we don't have one bike map that makes it really easy to get around, and so I've got I call it a bike subway map where you I've drawn it out and everything on Google Maps, but where you basically just say, hey, here's the routes that people should go on, and sometimes maybe you take Davis for a while, or maybe you take Smoking Oaks, but clearly delineate where bikes should go that experienced cyclists know are safe places. Doesn't mean it's the absolute fastest way. It just means if you go from here to here, and then you can pick up a quarter mile of protected bike lane on Salem, and then go over here, and you can get around, and you're basically safe the entire time. I mean, I think from the research that I've seen, most people don't ride bikes because they don't feel safe, and just the Donaghy lines made a huge difference. That looks a few plastic sticks makes a place a lot safer. And so as it relates to this business thing, to me, you could create a map like this, and I'm kind of convinced that you wouldn't even need a ton of actual infrastructure. It would really just be hey, we can paint these, we know these are very safe things, and you can actually upload bike routes into the maps systems. And so if you just literally said, hey, here's preferred routes, and you can take them, and you can just speak into your Android or iPhone or whatever, and it just tells you where to go on these. Well, then you have a map, and you can put these businesses on that map, and then businesses that are on those want to be a part of it and contribute in various different ways. That's sort of oh yeah, hey, I'll go over here because they're on the map, and it's then you're bringing commerce into it, which I think helps. But I don't think this would actually cost a lot of money. I mean, I'd be happy to share this with anybody. It's definitely not done, but I just think if you really just drew it and somebody said, okay, I take the orange, the blue to the pink, and then I'm there, and their phone would communicate that to them. And again, all that is free, right? Maybe you need some protected bike lanes there on prints or something like that, but I think we've already got the roads for it, and so to me, that could contribute in a way as well, because I just always look for free things that we could do, not building brand new trails. I mean, I love building new trails, but it's expensive. But if it's literally you can just throw some paint on a thing and draw a digital map, then people know where to go and they feel more comfortable doing it.
Well, and a benefit to businesses, I mean, we had during the Biketoberfest, there was one of the rides left from the Toyota dealership, right? I know most of the time cab leaves from the McGee Center, right? But if there were more places that are hey, we're gonna start a ride here, or we're gonna finish a ride here, there, a place like what we're talking about, or other businesses that, obviously, it would be logistical wise where it is, but a place like Round Mountain, hey, we're gonna finish our ride at Round Mountain and grab a drink afterwards. Or, so for a local business to go, there's gonna be 40 people on bikes that are gonna start a ride here, and that's gonna give them awareness of my business. Okay, what could I provide for them there? What could we have, for that? And so it's it's spreading the word around the community, but also it benefits a business too to say, oh yeah, they're gonna, 20 people may not have known about my business, and now they are because of a ride started from there.
Yeah, I think this is a great conversation. I want to move us on here because I think we need to move on to the next item. But is there anybody, so I don't mind doing some work on this. Is there anybody who feels like they have some contacts that would be beneficial to move forward with this? So Mariah, you mentioned let's see, the chamber, obviously,
Yeah.
city.
Hey, AJ, just for the official record, I know I said it in the chat, but I don't think you all can see the chat. But a lot of what you're talking about is part of the Conway 2035 plan, which is a plan. I don't know beyond that what's been done or what is being done, but I don't want to reinvent a lot of the like focus groups and things that went into that plan. And so it looks like they collected like a list of people that are buying into exactly what you're talking about. And so I definitely say talk with the chamber and get them on board because they'll have a lot of that groundwork done for you already.
Gotcha.
And I chaired the Public Transportation Committee for 2035, which was separate from bikes for some reason. Like it was separate. We had a lot of that stuff in there. And Terry, I know you had a lot of the stuff in there for the bike stuff as well. So but that's a great point, Mariah.
I got a question though.
Yeah.
If we, pitch this to the business by being bike friendly, like, do we know some kind of cost, what it costs for them as far as investing racks or any other things that I'm not a cyclist perhaps, but.
Yeah, I think that's
Just-
something we would want to.
Just to give them that information, not to say up front to scare them
Right.
or just, kind of ease them in. They're making an investment in themselves anyway, so just.
I can tell you the racks are more expensive than you even imagine, like that Conway chamber rack in that photo right there is about $1,000. I did repurpose those bike share racks. They were gonna be thrown away and we put a bunch of them at Conway Regional, because there's only 4 or 5 bike racks at Conway Regional. Now there's probably at least 20 that we repurposed.
So I don't have, I don't know anybody at the chamber. If there's somebody that does, feel free to.
I'm talking, you know somebody else. And I'm talking to Jamie Gates tomorrow, so.
Okay, well, I
John
will.
Ross is pretty connected.
You can't get any more connected than John Ross.
Right.
I'll see somebody there in about 30 minutes.
I will, so I'll get with you.
John, I'm
I'll send you an
officially
email.
putting you
Glad
in
to
the
help with
business.
that, and I think Mariah's on the right page, just to make sure if it's
Yeah,
working with them,
there's-
so we're not both.
There's been significant amount of work with focus groups with the community and business owners coming in and providing input as part of that 2035.
And this is all very consistent with stuff that the city wants. I think the trouble is, or the people in the city want, the businesses in the city want. It's weird because it's like, well, who pays for it, right? And it's like, well, people don't use the roads, and it's that's
Well, and
the
the thing
challenge,
is,
right?
the businesses would have to pay for the bike racks, and I tried to start a community social event at Twisted Taco, and basically nobody goes to it. And so, that was intended for the cycling community to come together, irregardless of what your riding discipline is, whether you're a commuter, mountain biker, road, fitness levels, didn't matter, just show up from 6 to 8 on Thursdays to Twisted Taco and hang out, and I've gone there and sat by myself. So,
I wonder if it'd be any different now that the lane's complete. Remember when I don't think it was in the process of being worked on.
yeah, some of it's just the service of the place, just like, when, I was even planning on trying to get live music there, and I was willing to pay for it out of my own pocket to try and do something similar to get that going, to show people what's possible. But it kind of got scary to where I wasn't willing to, like, when I'm sitting there by myself, do I really want to pay for a DJ a couple $100 for me to listen to music? So I didn't. I didn't.
Quick question on that. Do they have any outdoor seating there?
There's outdoor seating and alcohol.
Interesting. Okay. Well, yeah, this is a lot of good ideas. I'll get with you, send you an email, and we can discuss it a little bit more. Anybody quick last words before we move on here? Anything else?
John, I have put you on as talking to the chamber about distributing bike-friendly information, and the rest of the ideas.
You bet.
Awesome.
AJ.
BJ, so you're free to stay or whatever you want, but, yeah.
Terry, I'll give you a shout. I'll
AJ.
get some names from you and stuff like that. Okay, we can have some coffee. Thanks, guys. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
All right, so
AJ,
looking at,
can you not hear me, AJ? Raise my hand.
oh, yeah, sorry, Peter, what's that?
That's all right. I wanted to let you know that I sent by email a document from the League of American Bicyclists called Attributes of a Bicycle Friendly Business. Nice one-page document that you can print off and use when you go visit with the various businesses, or take it to the chamber and show, or John Ross can show Lindsay, or however you're making that connection. It's a nice introduction to what's involved in becoming a bike-friendly business.
Awesome.
That's it.
Okay, appreciate that. All right, we are about I think it was about 3 months off from walk and bike to school. Is it the same day, Mariah? Is it walk to school day and bike?
No, May is bike and October is walk.
Gotcha. So we got bike to school day coming up in May. Okay, so so Mariah sent me an email on all the stuff that we typically do, and that all looks great, and that's something that we'll probably discuss a little bit more as that starts getting closer. Something that I wanted to bring up, and being 3 months out, this still probably isn't far enough out for anything substantial to come of it, but something that I was interested in looking at is route suggestions and improvements around both of these days, but I guess we can look specifically at bike to school day since it's coming up. So I know in the past we've had, in our meetings, we discussed, some schools, if they're in a less ideal location for promoting bike to school day or walk to school day, they will have events either at school or people will meet. I think there's a school that has a walk on the trail to the school. Something that I'd like to look at, I don't think you can do much better as far as the ratio of routes to utilization than something that would improve walking and biking to school. That's if a kid is walking or biking to school, that's going to be a pretty good return on investment, in my opinion, for infrastructure. And I think there are some routes out there that are very close to allowing kids to walk or bike to school, other than maybe one or two sections that may not be that difficult to address. And that's kind of something that I wanted to look at, and probably this would be something that we would want feedback on from ideally the families of these kids who are walking or biking to school or want to walk and bike to school. But I don't want to exclude other sources as well. So I just wanted to start a discussion around that and see, I guess initially, if anybody knows of anything that meets that criteria, and then also, I guess, who we would reach out to at schools to maybe try to get some feedback on this, or maybe even start out and see if it's a good idea, if I'm just making up stuff over here and nobody is that interested in it. But yeah, any discussion on that, it's just something I put on here because there may be something we could address for this year, maybe not, but it's the discussion I wanted to start, so.
You've reminded me, the superintendent recently had a open house and posted a link to ask the superintendent questions. And I had intended to send it out to everyone because I think I distributed it to the walking group, as a way to say, hey, we'd like to see the schools getting more involved in doing this, and going straight to the top seems like a great place to start. And we do have a new superintendent, which means we have a new opportunity to build that relationship. So that might be one thing, is reaching out there. And I'll try to distribute that link to you all so you can use it. But I mean, frankly, of course, it would be better to actually reach out to the superintendent.
Yes.
David, are you talking about just walking and biking in general among school students?
Yeah, but also, you know, if they're, yes, let's say yes.
I mean, I sit on the Conway Public School District Wellness Committee, and so we meet quarterly, and all the PE teachers are involved. The district wellness coordinator and coordinated school health official is leading those meetings, and Joe Lynn is on those calls. So I mean, like, I have the ability to bring this stuff up to them, and I'd be happy to do that, but I think we probably need to gather our thoughts a little bit about exactly what we want to advocate for. I feel very passionate that all school students should be able to walk and bike safely to school, and I think we have a long way to go in Conway. And we talk about this about once a year. I feel like we bring this up, and it's hard, right? You're talking about properties that have easements for utilities and other things, but I agree with you, AJ, that there are probably places in the city where we could focus some energy and try to get some connectivity there. But it's probably a conversation that has to happen maybe with transportation first, to even see if this is something that's on their radar, and where, like possible routes that are within that are attainable goals, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But I'm sure that PE teachers would be very receptive to having more kids walk to school. Particularly those ones that aren't very well connected as it is.
So,
Does anybody know what it takes to get a pedestrian crossing, like the one where the trail crosses College, I guess, or? Because it's the crossings that are the real thing. Like crossing Donaghy, like you can walk all over there, but then you got to sprint across Donaghy. You know, it feels to me like anything we do is going to need more pedestrian crossings, and I don't know what is used for those or who decides of those.
Used to have manpower that would manage that, you know, volunteers or whatever, but those street crossings are about $75,000 a piece with the beacons.
Yeah.
So.
Some aluminum.
Yeah, and that's talking about without all the bells and whistles too, like that's so.
The business pays for it, do they become a free bike-friendly business?
So that's like, you almost have to find someone within the school to champion that for that school, you know, unless, you know, we decide we're gonna systematically pick a school and work on that school and get them going with safe routes and then find another school. But you gotta find people within each school and let them grow their network out and find volunteers and different people, because just like adults won't commute to work unless they feel safe, they're not gonna let their parent or their kids ride to school if they don't feel safe. And there's probably, I mean, my daughter rides to school, but she's gotta go like 4 blocks to Conway High, so. And she even tells me stories of cars in the 4 blocks, so.
Peter, do you have something you were gonna say there?
If I did, I can't remember what it was now, but I was
Okay.
gonna say, streets, I mean, Finley was the one that got those crossing things. We got one on Donaghy in front of Ida Burns, I think, and then there's one where the tennis courts are in the high school. They had one installed there, so I think Terry's right. If somebody from the school gets a hold of the city and the mayor and says, hey, we got a crosswalk where we need a safer situation,
Well,
they'll get it done.
a couple of years ago, the city council authorized the formation of local traffic calming committees. So basically, neighbors in an area can get together and basically propose various traffic calming things. And there's like steps that you have to do. You have to have a committee, somebody has to be the head of it, you have to go and get consensus in some way. But we did this in Hendricks Village because people fly down Sanders there and come into the neighborhood pretty fast, and particularly right around where the park is, it's kind of dangerous because it's a blind corner. And so we petitioned for basically a, your speed sign there, and we were given permission to do it. Now they said the traffic is not high enough there that the city will pay for it. You guys can pay for it if you want to. And so we just put it in. It was like $3,500 or something like that for that sign. But that would be a mechanism for this, I think, is that if the school is a major stakeholder in an area, to basically form a traffic calming committee and say, hey, we want to do this, and if we could standardize an application for them or something along those lines. Seems like it's something that the city has to respond to it, so they're kind of forced to. So that might be a good way to do it, because the school could collect signatures pretty easily if they wanted to do it and that kind of thing.
Well, and that way you can direct, because you have limited resources financially to put all of these things, so you could direct it to the schools that are being most proactive and engaged in it.
I was going, your experience, is this something easier to tackle, like pick a certain school who maybe that's positioned well for walkers, cyclists? Some of the schools are going to be positioned better than others. So is it easier to reach out with one certain school, or is it start with the superintendent? What's the better avenue, you think, with that?
I think trying to get into a meeting with the different school faculties, if the superintendent can get, our foot in the door to do that, and then have a meeting with them and explain what we're trying to do, and then they can, give try to get us points of contact or a champion within that school, like in a 30-day window, and then we can start, it's not some areas have tried to do almost like like bike to school bus, where there's like an adult and they just ride through the neighborhood and the kids come out on their bikes and this adult kind of shepherds them through the neighborhoods to school. There's been different ways to go about it.
Yeah.
So if I can make a suggestion, I think these are all good ideas. I think maybe something that we're missing here I think it would help to focus on certain areas or specific areas, and that's kind of what I had in mind. And I'm wondering if it would make sense at this point for us to collect some data on this by providing a survey that schools can send out, or even if it's just like a web form, send out to parents and have them identify, first of all, I think we could target people or families who are interested, or with kids who are interested in walking or biking to school. So we've already kind of narrowed it down to the demographic we're looking at. And then from that point, have them say, there's a specific area that's causing issues. So I would let my child ride or walk to school if this were not an issue. I think that seems to me like an obvious place to start. We can really kind of focus in on specific areas, and then at that point we could pass that along to schools, the city, et cetera, whoever we think or whoever we need to that would move forward with that. I think having that information would be beneficial, and that's something that's fairly easy to do.
I think the schools might very well, like if you had a PE teacher, Andrea Fournier at Theodore Jones, for example, is like super passionate about, various different things. I'm sure others are. But they could send something home with the kids to say, hey, sign this if you want a crosswalk, or sign this if you want, a thingamajig, right, to cross the street.
Yeah.
And here's the two options, which would you prefer? And I'll bet you could get 60-70% of a school to sign from their parents to sign off for it. You can do that with a traffic calming application. I think the city's gotta pay attention to it, right? If you've got that many people.
I guess I was looking more for just recommendations from not necessarily we're trying to install a crossing here or something, but what prevents somebody, if they could drop a pin on a map, and that at that point we could get an aggregate of everybody's suggestions or whatever we get back on the survey and then say, hey, look, there's like 10 people that have identified this as a problem.
Yeah.
I feel like taking that to whoever makes these decisions would be a very strong, you could make a strong case for, you know, whatever you need in that particular location.
It occurs to me that actually doing this by school would allow us to provide much more detailed maps. You know, maybe the 2 or 3 blocks around the school, you know, kind of in all directions, might be a way for us to say, hey, you know, in this very, you know, specific area, if there was a block you could fix or one change you could make, what would it be? And that would, I think, run a better chance of getting actionable information.
Yeah, that's something that's something that's crossed my mind as well. This is so annoying, I don't know where to look. I think it makes sense to, yeah. So if you've got a kid who's like 5 miles away, who's like, I'd love to bike to school, and you're like, well, you know, we gotta fix this road, we gotta fix this road.
That's a real estate problem, that's not a.
Right, it's unfortunate.
His parents own their own piece of real estate.
Yeah, it'd be great if we could fix all those issues, but I think you're right, you know, concentrating on an area. If there's a kid who's like 3 blocks away and all they need is a crossing, you know, on a street, and that's the case for an entire neighborhood, then yeah, it makes a little bit more sense to do that. So I like that. I like addressing it by school, and then maybe putting a radius around the school and saying, people who live in this area, you know, can we get responses from them on a survey or something
You think
along
like
those
a
lines?
survey monkey survey?
Sure, or, you know, yeah, anything that lets them.
Google form, yeah, you could do it a bunch
Yeah.
of different ways.
I would recommend that you try to keep it to 5 questions or something like that, short, it's something that can be texted out.
I mean, it could be one free form text response and one drop a pin on the map. I think that would be beneficial.
Well, I was gonna say, my advice, if you, cause I think systematically picking a school, working on that, having success, and then moving on to the next one is the best.
Yep.
My advice would be to, like, let's pick a school that we know we can make a success relatively easy and hit a home run, cause then the other schools start to buy into it better. If you pick one of the hardest ones out of the gate,
It may not work.
it may not.
Fix the Stephen Morgan Bridge.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, that's why I was thinking of that area, and I
That's
was
the
like,
thing.
yeah, so.
Well, Simon Middle School is right across from a big neighborhood right there on Stephen Morgan. So kids do have to just cross, like, it's literally, you gotta cross Stephen Morgan. And there's a huge neighborhood that's right there. And you can walk through that neighborhood just fine. So like, that's just one that was sitting in front of me, but that one always comes to mind because.
They do have a crossing there.
At Stephen Morgan?
Yeah.
Oh, you're right, they do.
I ride across it all the time, and it's got it talks to you and everything, so.
That's a perfect example then, for me, exactly. I'm like, that's a
Maybe
great
yeah, that
location.
could be a case study of something. Yeah, I mean, if anybody has any specific ideas, I like picking a individual school, and, you know, if there's one thing that destroys progress, it's being too broad. And so if we could pick one school and focus in, I think that'd be good. The question would be, do we pick a school with low number of students walking and biking, or do you pick one that already has a fair amount? And
I think if you drive around and look at how many bikes are in the racks, they're all pretty low.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, I think,
You might see 5, 6 bikes at any one school.
I'm just going by what I see when I drive down College in the morning, but there's quite a few at Roosevelt. Just how many kids I see coming out of Brownstone out there in the morning. Now it's probably not 15 by the time it's said and done, probably, but there's always more than I expect to see walking and biking out of Brownstone and whatever that subdivision on the north end of Brownstone is.
is that the corner of,
Like Patchett and College.
okay, okay, I see, yeah.
Are we sticking to age specific group, you know, middle school, junior high, or
think your middle school would probably be your
I think the
Starting
middle
with
school sweet
junior high,
spot.
so,
Yeah.
and middle school kids are gonna be old enough to probably,
Cypher again.
yeah.
I think too, middle school's a good approach if you can get them in the habit of riding early at a younger age. They're more apt to
Continue to have it.
continue on. It's going to be hard because of the not cool factor with the high school
Yeah.
kids. You're not gonna.
Are you saying something about your daughter or something?
Just saying,
What's going on?
She likes riding her bike, but it's like when you ride up to the high school, there's
Yeah.
6 bikes. There's.
So we are running out of time here. I like how this has started. Is there anybody who feels passionate enough about, I think this would be a great topic for a committee. If there's some interest there, I think we should start to look at that. If not, we can just continue next meeting, the same discussion. I think it would be great if we could have some discussion in between meetings, but I don't want to force any responsibilities on people. So
I think it'd be lovely if we all like picked a school near us. I'm not sure if we all live, I don't think we all live in the same general region. And just, sort of evaluate it just roughly what, what we're really looking for, right, is low hanging fruit. And I wanted to say that about, picking we're not necessarily looking for a school that has high use or low use. We're looking for a school where making a small change could make walking easier for a lot of people. And so that requires a little bit of knowledge about the infrastructure around the school to choose one.
That's a
And I
good
think,
idea.
choosing one that, we could change dramatically, I think you're right. We'd absolutely then have an impact and others would want to participate.
is that
I would piggyback off that, just like you said, picking a school and maybe just evaluating the area, like you said, 3 blocks north, south, east, and west around, and maybe just bring that to the group, and we can discuss maybe solutions to some areas we may see, visibly see as problematic for a kid.
yeah, I still think this is a pretty big discussion. But we do, let's plan on getting a little
AJ?
bit more direction on it.
AJ,
Yeah,
one more thing I might add. On that report card that you had brought to our attention earlier, one of the important things for the league is bicycle education in schools. If we're gonna start approaching schools, I'd like to be part of that effort, to also talk to, obviously PE teachers are the best place to go. Talk about integrating some sort of bike riding skills and bike safety education component into the PE curriculum.
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that would be a nice thing. We've had a couple of fits and starts on that. We've been to a couple of schools. What's that PE teacher, AJ, that just recently emailed you that's having a 5K run that wants some bicyclists?
Yeah, I'd have to
She's
look
good.
that up.
I remember
that
her.
was-
Laurel Brashear
Yeah.
is at Jim Stone.
Yeah, that Jim Stone would be a good one, I think, to approach both for access for biking and walking, but also try to get some bike education in the school, see if we can get that started. So I'd like to be a part of that if we can do that.
I don't know, guys, I hear a lot of interest on,
I mean, I don't want to be a part of a committee on it, but I'd happy to draw a few places on a map. So I think it's good homework to have everybody just suggest 1 or 2 spots and just see.
Kind of drive around a little
Takes
bit.
10 minutes,
so let me get 4 people or 5, whoever wants to look at a school near them, if we could just get some indication and we can follow up with it next meeting, have everybody volunteer. So I will volunteer to look, I'm right by Simon.
Simon, yeah.
So I'll look at that one.
I can look at Ruth Duel. I'm a quarter mile from it. I look at it every morning.
Did you catch that, David?
I can look at
I
Courtwood.
was not actually going to, I put a general board members will evaluate a school because I didn't want to.
I want to assign it to
Email
people so that I
anybody
can follow up with them specifically and.
I would say probably if you go by a school and there's bikes there right now, there's probably gonna be more in 60 days from now.
Right.
not the weather for people to be riding their bikes. and stuff,
No,
probably.
yeah, I think we're just taking a
Yeah,
look at it and seeing
infrastructure wise.
Infrastructure-wise,
what's
yeah.
available.
I'll look at Ida Burns.
Ida Burns seems like a good candidate to me, just because of,
A lot of
it feels to me
population.
there's probably a bottleneck there somewhere where people don't wanna,
I see a lot of kids walking to Ida Burns
Yeah.
in the morning. I'll drive in there and pay more attention.
All right, and Jeremy, what was your?
I can look cool with my
I
daughter.
don't know,
goes cool.
I will look at it, send out a reminder and I'll poke around on it, but.
Sorry, I meant
Oh,
this,
sorry,
Jeremy.
another
Which one?
He said
Okay.
Conway,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I can look Conway. My daughter, she
Conway?
goes Conway, but we're not in walking distance, unfortunately.
Okay, cool. Anybody else? That's 4, it looks like. So if there's anybody else that wants to, that's great. Otherwise,
Yeah, those would be good ones.
all right. Let me give you guys a quick update on our Connect Conway committee for the board here. Looks like I got about a minute. Actually, I have less than a minute. Actually, I have no time, but that's all right. So we have chosen to go with an acronym here for that we felt like represented our recommendations well. So we're calling this what was it? You can't ride a bike without a seat.
Seat, that's right, seat.
Yeah, so safety, equity, access, and transit. So those are the main areas we're looking at. Safety, that was Officer Kerr's main concern that he brought. So specifically call boxes, lighting, some charging stations, possibly cameras, if that's something that we could figure out and address the specific needs that would require. Equity, so something that we wanted to address, we know that's kind of an overarching topic for this whole project, but something we wanted to look at specifically was transportation equity. So how can we make this useful for people who don't have or have either no or limited access to motor vehicles? Access, this goes along with what you can access using the trail. So is the trail allowing us to access public resources, businesses, that type of thing? And if we need to, can we address some of those needs beyond the scope of just the trail? So maybe not necessarily something that would be included in this project, but additional things beyond that. And then transit, people need to have a vehicle to use the trail. So that was an e-bike grant that we were looking at, or the use of e-bikes, I guess like a bike share.
In the grant application, which they're looking at. By the way, did you know this, that the deadline for this grant was changed from July to April?
Yeah, I heard they're gonna submit it in April, so.
Yeah, so they gotta submit in April.
So yeah, we are planning to wrap this up probably in the next couple
Gotta be
weeks.
next week or two, yeah.
Yeah, so that's all I have for the update on that. I'm gonna say, let's go ahead and adjourn here. We don't have to take a vote on it, or I guess we can't take a vote on it, so.
We can't adjourn.
Yeah, we never started the meeting to begin with, so.
This meeting
That's
didn't even
true.
happen.
Yeah,
This is not
this
good.
didn't even happen, so. Yeah, anybody who wants to stick around, feel free, otherwise everyone's free to go their separate ways.
Peter, can I grab you for a quick second before we adjourn, before you head out?
If you have to.
Do we have rules about e-bikes currently? Is there anything written?